Hi guys, it's TechBoy here in another video. This video is outlining my expectations for the Apple September 9th, 2014 event, so let's get into it. Before I go into this video, I just want to quickly outline at least what I am anticipating to see in this upcoming event. So I'm expecting to see the iPhone 6, the iPhone 6L, iOS 8, and the iWatch, if Apple decides to release the iWatch or Apple's wearable device. It may not be called the iWatch, but more than that eventually. So if you click on any of these images on the screen at the moment, or any of the text, it will take you directly to the part in the video. Assuming that you haven't done it already, let's talk about the iPhone 6. So check out my video on top 10 iPhone 6 features predictions, which I made earlier this year. My expectations are, and this is all at best case scenario, release date of September 19th in stores, and I'm not expecting them to do pre-orders for it to build up demand and get people to line up and all that to make them look popular. A 4.7-inch screen with a resolution of 1472 by 828 pixels, which results in basically 360 pixels per inch. The A8 processor at 2.0 GHz dual core, so it's just a slightly higher clock speed to make it faster, and they'll claim it will be twice as fast. I'm hoping it will be more energy efficient. The M8 coprocessor, which will be the sequel to the M7, will work with the iWatch and Apple wearable device, but more on that later on. A 13 megapixel camera, up from 8 megapixels, but they'll be the same sized, micron-sized pixels as the iPhone 5S to then claim that, yes, we have bumped up the camera, but we've kept them at the same size. Therefore, it's better than any other camera out there. And then they can defend themselves with all that argument. Near-field communication is highly rumoured. We've even seen actual chips that are going to go on the circuit boards within these phones and all that. So we've got more concrete evidence than ever that it's going to come this year, and I really want to see it because I've been wanting it for the past few years or more. Mobile payments to take advantage of the near-field communication, more on that soon. An 1810 mAh battery, up from 1560 in the 5S. The dimensions, as you see on screen, volumetrically it will be around 15% larger than the iPhone 5S, which really, in the scheme of things, isn't that much larger. 32GB storage price started at $199 on a 2-year contract in the US is what I really hope to see. I wish they would scrap the 16GB, even though there's rumours that there will be 16, 64 and 128, meaning there'll be no 32. But I'd rather they make 32 the low end and build more of those than trying to really push people to get 64 gig or something like that. So they should do that to give people more options and build more of the 32GB. They'll be more guaranteed to be sold. A 128GB storage option at the high end, and put this into consideration. The Samsung Galaxy Note 4 and I believe the Samsung Galaxy Note Edge, that was announced the other day, that shows you how recent this is, has a maximum of 64GB micro SD card in it, and as far as I know, it only comes in 32GB storage capacities of built-in storage. So the absolute maximum storage you can get on the phone before the bloatware and the Android software and all that is 96 gigs. So if Apple puts 128 in, they'll already be ahead. 1GB of RAM, just like all the other previous years, because they don't really need to put more in as far as I know, but more on the phablet one later. And a 211AC Wi-Fi and faster LTE components, because they didn't do that last year for only 211AC. Curved edges, which will be very much like the first few iPhones. Reposition of the lock button to the right side, so it's easier to tap it when you go to lock the phone to put it in your pocket. I predict the bands on the back of the device to remain the way they are in the leak, and if they look any better, then that's a bonus. And you're not going to really look at them anyway, because you're looking at the front, not at the back. And a protruding lens, I hope, has a really great purpose for it being there, but hopefully it won't stick out that much, because the rumours are saying it's going to be 0.7 of a mil, which really isn't much, because even if you put a case on the back of the phone, that case is already thicker than how much the protruding lens is. So let's hope they would work in combination with each other. But if you're not a fan of having cases on phones, then I feel for you. If this is all true, that is. Now let's talk about the iPhone 6L. So you may recall, if you did watch it, my top 10 iPhone 6 predictions video from way back, that I was claiming that they'll call the next iPhone the iPhone 6L for the 5.5-inch model. And I say that because if you think about shirt sizes, L would stand for large. So it kind of makes sense in the sense of if they name it as a large device, it goes in line with everything they've said in the past of how the 4-inch screen was good, but then they've managed to figure out 4.7 is the new standard, but people want an even bigger one, so we'll give you the iPhone 6, but a large one of it. So, with all that in mind, I'm expecting the release date and the pre-order situation to be the same. The resolution of the screen will be 2208 pixels by 1242 at 461 pixels per inch, which is bonkers, because that's better than the Samsung Galaxy Note 3, for example, but not as high a resolution as the Samsung Galaxy Note 4. This is all for a comparison. An A8 processor with a 2.1 GHz dual-core processor, and I'm expecting it to be slightly faster than the iPhone 6 4.7-inch model to accommodate for more pixels. It should be more energy efficient and the same M8 coprocessor as I mentioned before. 13 megapixel camera up from 8, but same size pixels, near-field communication, mobile payments, a 2915 mAh battery, 1560 milliamps was the iPhone 5S, so that's not quite double, but it's a substantially bigger battery. And in terms of volume, based on these leaked dimensions, it's rumoured to be roughly 35% larger than the iPhone 5S, that is before you put a case on it. In terms of pricing between it and the iPhone 6 4.7-inch model, I'd expect the phablet to be about $50 more on a 2-year contract. I'm not sure what they're going to do unlocked, and it's going to be different in the US from Australia, and that's a whole nother debate, but time will tell. I'll give my thoughts on it, presumably once it's all announced. 128GB option at the high end, even if it's just for the phablet and not for the 4.7-inch model. 2GB of RAM because they've got more space to put it in, so why not? Faster wireless technology and the same design as the iPhone 6, but overall just larger. Okay, so let's go on now to talk about iOS 8. So I'm expecting them, just to go over it quickly, I expect them to at least talk about iOS 8 briefly on stage, like what they did when the iPhone 5C and 5S were announced. I expect them to do a demo on iOS 8, working on the 4.7-inch and 5.5-inch screens to highlight how they work compared to it on the 3.5-inch and the 4-inch screen, at least. Show off the iPhone 6 6L exclusive features like single-handed use mode for the iPhone 6L. I hope it comes to the 4.7-inch model as well. But if this is true, this may make me want to consider getting a phablet when my phone contract expires next year, because the biggest issue I'm finding with phablets is the fact that I'm a lover of single-handed use and all that, so if they can get me a bigger screen, which I can use for watching videos and apps and stuff like that, but for the times that I really just want to use it single-handed when I'm rushing to get to somewhere and that, it's just going to be a lot easier if they implement something like this. Announce a release date for the public to download iOS 8 over the air, that is, wirelessly onto your device, and presumably through iTunes as well, but preferably do it over the air, I reckon, over Wi-Fi. Don't use your cellular, because don't want to hear about the bill shocks. I am going to guess Wednesday, September the 17th, which will be 2 days prior to the iPhone launch for the new models, and an announcement of iOS 8 Goldmaster for iOS developers, or if it's not announced during the keynote, I expect it to be basically that day. So let's go on to what could be the new product that Apple announces. I confidently believe, and I know everybody's going to say, you expected it to be at WWDC. Yes, I did. The reason I said that was because if they were going to put software in it that developers can put their own applications on the watch and all that, they would have had to have announced it back then in order to give them the tools and capabilities and teach them how to design for the screen and all that. And I reckon they should do it as well. But it should be announced now, because the watch, if it does, there's a 50-50 chance that it could either work as a standalone device, or it's an extension of the iPhone. So it makes sense to announce it at the same time. And if the M8 processor has some syncing capabilities inside it, along with the NFC chip, then it makes sense to announce it when it's in the new iPhones, that it's also capable with the iWatch and all that. So I firmly believe this will be the iWatch, and if it's not announced at this keynote, they'll announce it early next year. So what do I hope to see? Most of these you probably will think they're not exactly specs, but they are what I want to see in general. And yes, I am a watch wearer myself. I want to see a variety of sizes for different sized wrists. I want it to be light in weight, have a good quality screen that is bright in direct sunlight so you're able to see it. Nothing incredibly thick on the wrist at any point, like the Samsung Gear S that was announced the other day. That was ridiculously thick, so that turned me off straight away. At least 2 days of battery life at best, but there was rumours around the internet today, just before I recorded this video, that it may struggle to even get one, so that could be a deal breaker for everybody. But even keeping that in mind, there needs to be a convenient way to charge up the device, so they should put in wireless charging. Variety of screen sizes, so 1.3 inch and 1.5 inches. Obviously, I would go for the big one because I've got a bigger wrist. Main form of input being an offline version of Siri. Integration with HomeKit, and they could have something with NFC in it so it can work with all the other HomeKit devices around you. Have HealthKit compatible sensors that sync the data with the phone, so just like all the other smartwatches are getting at the moment that are currently being announced. Communicates and syncs to the iPhone via the NFC chip and M8 coprocessor. Does mobile payments by communicating with the iPhone to get the internet connection so it can process the transactions, and NFC on the smartwatch itself, so that can be tapped without needing to get the iPhone itself out of your pocket. Because now that I've viewed this whole idea of NFC being the iWatch and all that, what's the difference getting your phone out and tapping it as to getting your wallet out, opening it up, getting your credit card, and then tap to pay it and all that? I mean, it's less steps in that regard, but they could go one step further with the watch, and that's just going to revolutionise the payment scheme worldwide. I truly believe that. Ability to act as a separate device, but also communicate with the iPhone when needed. 8GB of internal storage would be ideal for being on the go, and it should be able to connect to Bluetooth headsets, so if you could store all your music on the internal storage and you've got a Bluetooth headset so you can listen to the music, you won't need to take your phone with you. But then the thing is that you won't be able to get phone calls if your phone's not with you. So like the Samsung Gear S, they put a SIM card slot in the Samsung Gear S itself. If they did that for the iWatch, then that could be a huge upsell. If it looks anything like the image on the left, I am sold in terms of design. I personally like the idea of a square rectangle from a completeness feeling. I would feel ripped off with rounded off corners when it comes to the display. Like with the Moto 360, it's got that black bar at the bottom of the screen. To me, that just looks like dead pixels that does nothing. I just don't like the idea of rounded displays because you feel like you're getting ripped off. You feel like there should be more pixels there, but there isn't. Have a mode where you can only view the time if it is less than 5% of the battery life, so then the battery in the watch would be able to last, I don't know, like an extra 12 hours or so, because what's the point having a watch if it can't tell you the time because the battery's dead? There needs to be a way so when it gets down to a certain point, it can no longer do any of the other functionality apart from telling you the time. And knowing Apple, I expect it to cost $2.99 or less, considering how Apple prices their products, but we obviously won't know what it's going to be priced at until probably early next year when they release it. So before I round up this video, I will just go over the minor predictions. They will talk about the iPhone 6 and 6L at the same time, I believe, because realistically the biggest differentiators between them is screen size and resolution, price, and size dimensions. By doing this, it will allow them more time to talk about the Apple wearable product later on, because it's completely different and not an upgrade of anything, so they need more time to sell you on that idea. The building opposite the Flint Center, where the keynote is happening, which is a large white box at the moment, I predict will be full of multiple demo places, such as well-known athletes using the iWatch for tracking their health, HomeKit demonstrations with iWatch and iPhone 6L, setting up a fake shop, maybe like a fake Apple store, for using an iPhone and iWatch for mobile payments to show you how seamless it all works, and general hands-on areas for all the new products and all that in general, because obviously the Flint Center, as far as I know, is mainly built for seating and opera performances and all that, not for demonstrations out in the hall. Do not expect an iPad Air 2 or iPad mini with Retina display 2 or Mac hardware updates, nor OS 10 or 17 release date announcements at this event. I really think that will be its own event in October, similar to what they did last year. Expect there to be an opening video sequence about Apple's history and have a link to the times they announced the original Mac and the iMac, because they were the last two times they used the Flint Center, and they were basically whole new products in themselves, so you can't help but feel that that's why they've chosen that venue on purpose to host it there, because of it being so significant. I anticipate Tim Cook to say that they would not ship a larger screened iPhone until they perfected it, possibly make a joke of the last two iPhones and how the internet reacted to not having larger screens. So it'd be like, the iPhone 5 has a 4.0 inch screen, but it's not as big as we wanted. The iPhone 5S has the same 4.0 inch screen. It's not going to sell. Well, it sold perfectly because people like 4.0 inches. But all of these research statistics and all that are coming out saying people want larger devices, and I technically speaking do as well, but obviously time will tell. I would more be like the person to want to play with them and all that before I spend my money on it. Tim Cook will introduce the iWatch because it will be his first new product as CEO, as a whole new product line, unless it's like an iPod Wear or something like that. But get Phil Schiller to step through the specs and features. And a side note, Phil Schiller will be wearing jeans. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching. The question for you, the audience, is iWatch or iPhone 6L? Which excites you the most? And what does the iPhone 6L need in order for you to buy it if you are a passionate single-handed user like myself? So it would be single-handed mode and be a really good implementation of it to make me really want to go for the iPhone 6L. So you can let me know by leaving a comment below, and if you enjoyed this, please give a like and subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Twitter. I will be live tweeting during the actual presentation keynote itself, and I really hope you all follow me on there and favourite and retweet all of my tweets that I put out there and all of that, because hardly anybody responded to my stuff when I did it last time, so I'm just hoping some people at least see my stuff. So until next time, thank you very much for watching. Enjoy the keynote. I will see you on the other side, and I will catch you later.